Good afternoon, everyone. And now we begin the Dhamma discussion for the Medin Poya retreat. For a long time, we didn't have SIL program taken place at the temple with members due to COVID. But now the COVID is slowly disappearing and people are getting together slowly. And maybe in the next few months, we can start gathering again for the full moon retreat. And that way, some things like Dhamma discussion, we can do in front of the people so they can question and exchange ideas in the group. And that is the way that we have conducted the Dhamma discussion before COVID. And I think slowly we have to go back to the same tradition. I think if the people are interested in coming to the temple, those who can participate in the SIL program at the temple, and Dhamma discussion and Dhamma talks and all these things, you can participate in person, and those who are far away can still join us through YouTube or some other source. And today we have short time for Dhamma discussion because Dhamma talk was a little bit longer earlier, but all those are important Dhamma that was brought to you by Bhante Shanta, and hopefully it will help a lot of people. And one question that I received, I have two questions, but one is a little bit longer and interesting. And if Buddhists do not worship the Buddha, why are there so many Buddha statues? Why are offering made to them? Why we have so many Buddha statues? And why we respect and make offerings to them as Buddhists? If the Buddhist people do not worship the Buddha, that is correct, because we don't worship the Buddha, but we always express our gratitude to the Buddha, express our appreciation to the Buddha, and pay our respect to the Buddha. Those are the common things that we do when we think we worship. Worship is not too much of a Buddhist word. When you know that some churches, they say worship time is such and such a time, and we never use that word in the Buddhist tradition. We worship, but we pay respect. Buddhist always appreciate the infinite virtues of the Buddha. When we created the Buddha statue long time ago, that may be done as a symbol to remind us who the Buddha was and who the Buddha was like. Infinite compassion and infinite wisdom are the two things depicted in any Buddha statue. Now, you know, wisdom is a male form. Compassion is a female form. That is how we normally recognize these emotions. when the good artist design the Buddha statue, it should be the combination of wisdom and compassion. The Buddha's face is neither female or no male. So that, no male. So that when you look at the Buddha, if you generate the feeling of the virtues of the Buddha in our heart, it is easier for us to express or feel our gratitude for teaching us and appreciation for the Buddha's compassion, his desire to help all beings to free from samsara, the suffering in the samsara. So these are the two things that good artists would try to depict in when they designed Buddha statue, excuse me. And it always give us a focal point. Instead of standing in front of the empty wall and try to think of the virtues of the Buddha, it might be much easier for common people who are not advanced mentally. It's a great help for them to get a reminder of the actual virtues of the Buddha. If you are lucky, you find a nice Buddha statue, and if you can keep that in your house to see the face of the compassionate Buddha day and night, would be a great inspiration for people to live compassionately and wisely. So the expression of bowing, we kneel down and bow, we bend our back and bow to the Buddha, and they are not necessarily worship. We do that for two reasons. One is to express our reverence to these virtues. Because when you worship something like that, when you bow to something like that, when you revere something like that, that means it turns us into be that, what we revere. So what you worship, you become that is an expression. So if in that same terms, if you bow to the Buddha, that means I esteem the virtues of the Buddha highly, that I wish I would be like that compassionate and wise, and that is what my goal is. That paying homage is to remind yourself of your goal in the future, to attain ultimate wisdom and ultimate compassion. That is one thing. It always helps us. When we offer something to the Buddha, this means like flowers and candles and incense and even food, something that we appreciate, we regard highly, beautiful flowers, food and drinks and all these, candles and light. These are something that we revere, we highly regard as human beings, and we want to offer these wonderful things to you as our expression of our gratitude. So the main purpose of offering is our expression of gratitude. These are valuable things. Food is very valuable to us, very important to us. We wish that we wish to offer some of these things to what we revere. so that you generate great deep appreciation and gratitude by doing so. So expression of gratitude transform your own personality. So it is a good thing because it helps us to transform our personality from average personality to a more refined personality. So not that Buddha need our food or anything, but we want to offer something that we cherish. So that is what we do in making offerings to these statues. We think of the Buddha and we offer this in the name of the Buddha, means in the virtues of the Buddha. So that way we always generate some softness and some gentleness in our hearts and in our mind by making those offerings. So it is psychologically, it's a great benefit for us. And the other thing is putting our head down and making ourselves humble in front of a Buddha statue is humbling ourselves in the virtues of the Buddha, in front of the virtues of the Buddha. And what does that do? That is very important part of crushing our own ego. Our biggest problem is our self-centered thinking. I am the most important person in the world and everybody should respect me and all that type of thinking. That arrogance that we have is minimizing. That arrogance become minimized by kneeling down and putting our head down in front of the amazing amount of virtues. And that means you humble yourself and you use the Buddha statue to make yourself humble and less selfish person. That is something that could happen every time when we bow to our parents, bow to someone that we respect. That is a way of using that object or person to crush your ego. Because our strong ego is the main cause of all problems. Our self-centered thinking is the cause of all calamities that we experience in our life. So if you try to crush your ego, it's not that easy. But using the Buddha, using someone who is senior and more respectable, by paying our respect and homage, we crush our ego and we become less and less self-centered and less arrogant. As a result, our life becomes easier and much more flexible. So then that is one of the reasons that we make bow to the Buddha, to crush our ego. So it's great that we have someone like the Buddha or other great religious leaders like Christ or any other great leaders of different religions, bowing them and paying respect to them is a very helpful practice for us to minimize our arrogance. That bring us much peace and comfort. Because being stiff and arrogant bring us a lot of problems and difficulties, put us in difficulties. So therefore, it is a good thing that we do kneeling down and bowing to the Buddha in order to crush our own ego or self-centered behavior, which is a great benefit for all of us. So that is the idea of paying homage to the Buddha. It's not worship. We say, in common language, we say, every time we go to school, before we go to school, we bow to our parents, means we worship our parents. That's what they say. I worship my parents before I go to school. That is also in East especially, it's an expression of appreciation and gratitude. We receive so much from you as our parents, and we want to express our appreciation and gratitude by making a bow. When you put our palms together and bow, that means I make myself humble in front of you and express my appreciation for all the help and support that we receive from you. The same idea that we bow to the Buddha. Okay, that is the one thing. And remember that having a good, beautiful Buddha statue done by a well-trained artist, if you have a Buddha image by that type of artist, we are lucky because it always makes our mind softer and remind of our goals, that is wisdom and compassion. So the good Buddha statue is you can look at the face and you cannot recognize if this is a male or female. That male part is the wisdom part and the compassion part is the female side. So they combine nicely together, and you cannot tell if the Buddha is a male or female. If that is the way it is, then that is a good Buddha statue, at least from how I think personally. Okay, then the next question is, are Buddhist atheist? Atheist basically means they don't believe in God or reject God as our guide, our object of worship, object of reverence. And God is not something that we revere. That is what atheists basically do. And we reject the whole concept of God. That is the atheist. But theist is the person who believe in God, who respect God and take God as your guide and always thank God for helping you or something like that. And that is one who believe in God. And Buddhist is not believing in God. Not that the Buddhist does not believe in God. In the discussion of the Dhamma, God is not an important part. God does not play any role when it comes to the nature of our lives. In other words, God has no control over ourselves. And we don't say that in words, but we pay attention to the other things, cause and effect, causality. Causality is the one that operates everywhere in the world, in the material world and in the spiritual world. Causality is the word, what is behind it. When certain things happen, certain other things happen. When you make certain things happen, you actually make certain other things happen. If your car is broken down, you take it to the garage and the mechanic look at it and see what went wrong and what part of the engine went wrong. And what the mechanic is doing is removing that faulty part and replace it with the good part, working part, and put it in there, and then the car start working properly. So the God exists or not, if a person know how to use the principles of cause and effect, you can make changes in the world and in your life. For example, if you know that most of my personal problems are caused by my own self-centeredness, due to my selfishness or self-centeredness, then you know that you need to change your self-centered behavior using proper techniques. So there are a lot of ways, especially the whole Eightfold Path is designed by the Buddha to minimize and deactivate your self-centered thinking in your system. And by doing so, you remove all your frustration and suffering from your life. And you believe in it, believing in God or not, that doesn't matter in this case, because you remove the cause of the problem and get the proper effect that you like to achieve. And so this means discussion of the God does not come into learning and practicing Dhamma in the world. Dhamma is all based on cause and effect. When these conditions are there, for example, if the electricity is there, if the wires are properly connected, if the bulb is good, if the electricity is connected, the wire is connected to the main electricity wires, and then naturally, when you turn on the switch, the light should come. For this, you don't have to believe in God or respect in God. But if you know that light is not working for some reason, then you check if the bulb is good or not. If the bulb is good, then you know the problem is somewhere else. That electricity is not there, main electricity is not there. So then you have to call the electrical company and get the electricity come to your house through the transformers or whatever the machines, and then you get the electricity. If the wires are broken or eaten by a rat or something, and then you fix the wires and then properly, and then you get the light. So therefore, the God has almost no important role regarding the absence or the presence of your light. Everything in the world is like that. Anything that is caused by certain conditions, once you change that certain conditions, the effect should change. So the whole teachings of the Buddha is all about how life works based on the theory of causality. All the scientists in the world are using the theory of causality to make things happen. All the people in the technical field use the cause and effect relationship to make things change and make things happen. So all the marvelous things that we see, that we don't even think that it is marvelous because they're so common now. For example, flying, a machine flying with 200, 300 people for thousands of miles in the sky is a airplane, for example, made by scientists or all those people who worked on that project, knowing the causes and conditions, how much power we need to lift 300 people, maybe 200 kilos, 200 tons, to the sky. And based on that knowledge, you generate that amount of power using the right techniques, then the airplane gets lift off. And then you can also find out how much gasoline you need to go from one place to the other place, take the airplane to one place to the other place. And then you have the right amount of gasoline that create the power. And so you comfortably go from one place to the other and land in the other city, in the different parts of the world. And for that, all those people who produce the airplane or the rocket or any other marvelous things that we think is, we don't even think it is marvelous now, because these are so common at this time. But at one point, those are not marvelous, those are not the common things. Carrying 500 people and go to the sky and go through the sky for millions of miles is not a common thing. But knowing the causes and conditions that could create that effect, all the scientists and technologies made that happen. So, same thing regarding the conditions of life. If my family is not functioning properly, have a lot of problems, and children go in different direction, and the husband go in different direction, and the wife go in different direction, and that means harmony is broken. So then how do we create the harmony? And back to the original position that whole family is working as one unit instead of doing their own things according to their will. But when the harmony is developed, they all discuss things and do things together. And the harmony is very good, and then the family functions properly. And then Buddha would look at something like this and why this family is falling apart. And then Buddha would say, in this family, these conditions, like we talk about the electrical light, these conditions are missing in this family. And once we reintroduce these conditions back to the family start working harmoniously and collectively and effectively. And therefore, in Buddhism, God is not an important factor in anything that happens in this universe under the sun. So all based on cause and effect. So the Buddhist method is to find the causes and conditions of certain things and resolve the problems or create something that was not there before. All that is possible without believing in God, without praying to God, without asking for help from God. If the players are trained well in the team, football team or basketball team, if the players are well trained to do their part in the game, and most probably that team is going to win no matter what. If they pray to the God or not, that is not a factor in this case. How well these people are trained for their different roles are the most important part. So therefore, in Buddhism or Buddhist does not bring in God to our discussion of Dhamma, how things happen. So that means we are not anti-God. We don't say that Buddhists don't believe in God. It's not even a question. Do we believe in God or do we not believe in God? Not even a question, because we are in total different subject. Just like physicists or scientists or chemists, they don't take God into consideration when they try to find solution for certain illness or certain problems of the material world. So it doesn't, God is not, so the science is atheist. We don't say that. Scientists are atheists. No, scientists are neither atheist nor theist. Buddhists are neither atheist nor theist, because discussion of the God is not relevant to the subject that we discuss and subject that we study and subject that we put into practice. So therefore, if you say someone Buddhist is atheist, that is not right, because Buddhists are not atheist. Buddhists are theist? No, Buddhists are not theist, because without God, we can solve our problem. Without the concept of God, without believing in God, we can solve the problems that we are trying to solve. So, most important problems of the problem of suffering or problem of fear that Buddhism are dealing with, and problem of continuation of samsara, going from birth, life to life, and die and rebirth again and again, going through the samsara for so many millions of lives has nothing to do with the concept of God. It is caused by our own weaknesses, or our own lack of wisdom, and our own lack of knowledge, and our own lack of skills. Because of those reasons, we continue to go through the samsara and suffer through the samsara. So Buddha would say, okay, if you want to stop samsara, these are the things that we need to do, and that is your responsibility, and each one's responsibility. You do this, and these things, and you will see that your greed and your self-centered thinking and your hatred and all these negative emotions get minimized, and therefore there's a possibility that your level of suffering get minimized, and you continue to reduce your suffering, and at one point your suffering will totally end. And so this is the method that we use Buddhism, just like scientists. And in that sense, Buddhism is science of life. Chemistry of physics. Physics is chemistry of the physical objects. Chemistry of the the subject of fluid object and things like that. But Buddhism, it's only focusing on the problems related to existence of life and continuation of life. And this is how we become no relation with the concept of God, because we look at things totally differently. That means just like a scientist would look at what is really happening there, and that is what they do research. What is really happening regarding this virus? What is really happening regarding this type of chemistry going around and things like that? So therefore, you cannot call Buddhist is not a theist. It's not a relevant expression. Buddhist is atheist. That is also not relevant. Buddhist is not a atheist. Buddhist is not anti-God. None of those things are relevant because the whole subject and subject matter and the matter that we use to discuss our problems has nothing to do with God, and we can solve the problems without bringing in the concept of God. We can solve the problem. That is the most important part. Any problem that we think as a problem of life, Buddhists say we can solve it using our own, cultivating our own skills and putting the right effort into the right place by ourselves. So that is why the question, are Buddhist atheist, is not a relevant question or proper question, because Buddhists are not theist, not atheist, not theistic. Buddhism is not a theistic religion in that sense. So therefore, God is not part of the subject in Buddhism. And so that's the answer to that question. And then I think our time is out. So therefore, we discontinue the Dhamma discussion here with these two questions. And if anybody want to add to this or any counter questions or anything that you have, you can send it to us to abstemple@gmail.com, and we can bring it to the next Dhamma discussion. And so thank you very much for participating in this part of the meditation, this part of the SIL program retreat in March, which is Medin Full Moon Day Retreat. Okay, and thank you very much. And now we have meditation at 2:30 p.m. and we sit down and practice meditation for 30 to 40 minutes from now on. No? And so if you want to take a break, you can always go to the restroom or get a cup of tea and come back and sit down. And we begin the meditation session at this time. Then 3:30 is the time. 3:15. Oh, we even gone 30 minutes, 15 minutes too far. Now it's at 3:30, and we begin the meditation for Oh, only 15 minutes. Okay. Okay. We continue the meditation for 25 minutes. Okay. So then we take a short break at the end of the 25 minutes, and then we get ready for the evening Buddha Puja. And the blessing today is the Mahaparita. The great blessing that is Mahaparita always include Mangala Sutta, Karniya Sutta, and Metta Sutta. Mangala Sutta and Ratna Sutta and Metta Sutta, and then short blessings. And that will be the end of the program. And now we sit for 25 minutes. Please keep your back straight. And try to sit comfortably. And try to relax your muscles as much as possible. That includes the facial muscles. You can sit on a chair, it is fine. You can sit cross-legged on a cushion, that is also the common way. But sitting in one position would be acceptable. So lightly close your eyes, don't make it too tight, and keep your back straight, then the blood flow will be good to the brain. We also begin with Anapanasati, and maybe we can slowly expand it to Vipassana meditation, mindfulness meditation, being mindful of what is happening in the body and mind is the Vipassana meditation. That way you learn about your mind and the body, which is one of the most important knowledge in the process of eliminating all suffering. Ekayano ayam bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhya, to purify ourselves, visuddhya. Soka paridda dukkha domanassanang attangamaya, to eliminate sadness and grief and unhappiness that arise in our mind. To eliminate all this, Vipassana is the method. In the Vipassana method, we have Kaya-anupassana, Vedana-anupassana, Chitta-anupassana, and Dhamma-anupassana. These are the 4 parts of the Vipassana meditation. When we are paying attention to understand our own body and mind, these are the 4 ways. So start with Anapanasati, breathing meditation. That is to calm and increase our focus. When you increase our focus, we become able to see the subtler and subtler activities of the body and the mind. This gives you a great picture of how the body and mind works together in every person's case. Anapanasati is paying attention to the breath. Breathing in is ana, breathing out is apana. Sati means mindfulness. Mindfully observe the process of breathing in and breathing out. That is one object that we use as our point of focus. When we try to stay mindful on this object of focus, it is common for most people that their mind run to different objects. Leave the actual object that you want to stay, which is breath, and now mind you find out that it is not on the breath, but thinking about many things that happens many miles away. So if you find out that your mind has left the main object, which is the breath, and start thinking about other things, grasping other things, just pay attention to what those things are and quickly come back. For example, if you are thinking now about your house, or you are thinking about lustful thoughts, you are thinking about somebody who hurt you, who upset you, that is angry thought, whatever the thought that your mind follows, we catch them, recognize them, and come back to the main point, which is the breath. You can focus on the breath from the tip of the nose, expansion on the contraction of the chest area or the stomach area. Whatever the physical place that you select is according to your comfort, according to what is easy for you. So let us focus on our nose, tip of the nose. Let us focus on our breath to chest areas expansion and contraction, or anything that you use to stay in one object, which is breath. When you keep focusing on your breath, soon you may find that your mind is at some other place thinking of something else. But that is fine at the beginning because we are training the mind to stay focused on one object. During this training period, it is so easy for the mind to do what mind always do the best, going from place to place. So at least you try to recognize where the mind usually travel while you are trying to focus on your breath. Let us conclude the meditation session with the Metta meditation. Dukkha patta janidukha bhaya patta janibhaya soka patta janitsoka Hontu sabbe pipaninu dukkha patta janidukha bhaya patta janibhaya soka patta janisoka hontu sabbe pipaninu. May those who are experiencing suffering be free from suffering. May those who are experiencing fear of losing their property, fear of losing their loved ones, fear of losing their lives, be free from their fear. Those who are experiencing grief and sadness due to the loss of loved ones, due to the loss of property, due to the loss of health, may all those who are experiencing grief and sadness be free from their grief and sadness. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Dukkha patta janidukha bhaya patta janibhaya soka patta janisoka hontu sabbe pipaninu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Soon we will begin the Buddha Puja and the Great Blessing, and we still discontinue the streaming for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and please come back and go to the original link and start participating. Thank you very much.